Hey guys, how is everybody? I hope everybody's doing great. What are we looking at here? We got us a yellow saw on the bench. I'm kind of known for making these things run a little better than they did stock. Is about all I'm gonna put it. I don't ever toot my horn or give myself a lot of credit or anything, but a lot of you guys seem to think these things run pretty dang good, but I have done a lot of research and development with them and kind of come up with my own thing that I do to them. Some may agree with it and some may not. That's just all builder preference. Seems some people may even think what I do to these saws are detrimental to them, but when I show them in wood, big or small, seems they get a lot of attention and people seem to like the way they pull. I ain't never had a complaint out of anybody on one either, to be honest with you, but what I'm going to do first, this thing felt like it had really healthy compression, just to show that I'm not filled it full of oil or anything. Some people really, I don't know, I'm just not going to get into that. Some people blow my mind. Hell, YouTube blows my mind at how it works, honestly. Still just so much shit out there, it's unreal. And for some reason I ain't wanting to thread in, but what we're wanting to do is check compression, see how healthy the saw is. These things make anywhere from 125 on the low end of running good to about 135 psi. I have seen one or two touch 140. That's a really healthy low hour saw, usually one of these older ones. Some people disagree with that. They think the Pro Max run better. I've owned a shitload of them. I ain't got no reason to lie to anyone. I want my new Harbor Freight bed. Just quit climbing. This one's pretty dang healthy. She's making 140 psi if it'll pick up. Take that for what it's worth when you hear someone saying that the newer Pro Max 1010s, I'll go pull one off the shelf right now and I know exactly what it makes. It's a low hour saw. Makes 130 psi is all I've ever been able to get out of any Pro Max 1010. I know some guys do machine work to these. I'll just tell you, when you get the compression jacked up on these things, the PTO side bearing does not live long. It's a little bitty tiny, and I'm saying little bitty tiny, needle caged bearing. They just don't live long at all. They don't like really high RPM. They don't like a lot of compression. My trick is just to not raise the exhaust roof. They usually time pretty good. Most of them are anywhere around. And take note when I say this, I did make another video that I wasn't real clear on some of the information in it. I've since took that video down, which I really shouldn't have, because it had a lot of views and I got a lot of emails from people saying how it helped them build their mat. It had misled a couple people, and mainly what I didn't mention in it is there's like half a dozen different 54cc blocks. Now y'all have the same transfer port design, but some of them have looser and tighter squished than others, bigger or smaller combustion chambers. Port timing on them varies. Most of them will time somewhere between 55 and 60 on the intake. Most of them time somewhere between 104 and 107 on the exhaust. I have seen some of the really old ones, like a 1-10 or the earliest 1010s that were right hand start. I've seen them time as late as 108, and you know, with that said, compression's going to be better if you get the transfers dialed in. And we've all talked about hogging transfers and doing stuff to them. This is one particular saw that benefits from doing transfer work. When I get the cylinder part, I'll show you why. Like your later saws, like the ProMac 55, a 1010S, they have a totally different transfer design. It's the same as like a ProMac 700 or Super Pro 80 or 800. It's a larger transfer port. It has a lot more volume, and you can throw all the intake timing at those saws you want. These saws, even with doing what little transfer work you can do with them, you still can't throw any intake timing at them. Like a couple of degrees and they're spitting back through the carb. They're hard to start. It's just, they end up being a nightmare saw. So I'm gonna get that out of the way. Some people ain't gonna agree with it. I really don't care. I've done enough of these to know. I've run enough of them. No reason to lie to anyone. These saws benefit from doing a lot of transfer work. But what I'm going to get into, I have multiple videos tearing these things down on the channel. I'm going to tear it down, and once I get it tore down to where we can do some port timing stuff, I'll bring you guys back and show you what's up. Well guys, we've got her apart. Got a little bit of bad news, but it's no big deal. This is the intake side of the piston. Hopefully you can see it. It feels a lot worse than it even looks. It's ate a lot of fines. Exhaust side, she's ate some carbon. I wouldn't reuse this piston, probably not even on one of my own saws. Unless it was just a shelf hanger, something I'd want to pull down and fire every now and then. And the combustion chamber and band just packed full of carbon. Pretty good layer on top of the piston. I'll give you a look at the exhaust port. If you've got one of these that's kind of running like garbage, pull the muffler and have a look. I've gotten some of these damn things here to where there was an exhaust opening maybe of a 1/4 inch just due to carbon. You know, it doesn't take long. Pull the bottom shroud back and pull the muffler. Just have a look at things. But this side here was just as bad, but when I pulled the gasket, you know, there was a bunch came out with it. The intake block stayed on. That's fine. I usually don't pull them off if they stay on, because we don't really do much with the intake on these anyway. It's big, it's wide, it flows plenty good enough. I just try to make sure everything's lined up good as far as this block and the gasket and the intake port itself. Let's see, talking about these transfer ports, hopefully you guys can see. Try to get a little light down in there on it, but that is it. That is what they have. A 1010 is the only saw that I know of that has transfer ports made like this. You got like 3 fingers on each side. They're probably, I'm gonna say maybe a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bigger, maybe 3/8 of an inch wide. I doubt it, about the same depth. And they're kind of twisted like a spiral. I kind of understand the concept of it, but your later model saws, it kills me when people say, oh, Macs don't like intake timing. Another thing, not all Macs are chrome plated. It was only the very later ones when Black & Decker took over things. You can see that cast iron sleeve there. No plating on that flake, so no, Macs ain't notorious for plating the flake. That dude just fucked up someone's saw and wanted to blame it on the cylinder. You either know who he is or who he ain't. But anyway, these are the only cylinder that the transfers are designed this way, and it is totally the transfers. It is not the shape of the intake port. The 55s I've done, the 1010S cylinders I've done, and I've done a few of them. The 70cc cylinders I've done a few of those as well. They'll handle 160 degrees of intake duration, just like a modern cylinder. Reason behind it, they have a lot better transfer port design. You just have to go through some of my videos and look at some of those saws, but they are quad port. Technically they're an open port. It's a weird design. I always case feed them. It does help. There's some saws that don't like that, but on these I don't case feed all 6 of them. I'll usually take one transfer and drop it down and case feed it to where we've got an active boost port or finger port, whatever the hell you want to call it. They do help. They help a lot on these saws. I've got one sitting here on the shelf. It is all that is done to it. I actually pulled down 2 on each side of it, I think. And I do go in with a 90 and open the transfers up. There's no room to hog anything out. If you try to go in here and be crazy with a big, huge, aggressive bit, you're going to fuck up the cylinder. Just think, I'm trying to get a little bit more volume into these transfers and get a little bit of charge up into the cylinder, or combustion chamber rather. And these do not like long blowdown. If you raise the exhaust roof, they do not like it. You lose compression. Saw will go lean. It won't 4-stroke. Trust me, I've tried everything on these. The best running one I've got here is sitting at 27 thousandths squish, and I've done that by mixing and matching the cylinders. And again, there's like half a dozen different 10 or 54cc cylinders. Exhaust roof on that one's sitting at 100, and hell, I'm wanting to say the uppers start opening at like 118 or something, maybe 116. It's been so long since I built it, but when I time this, it should have around 20 degrees of blowdown right from the factory. Most of them do. I see guys time these things, and the numbers they come up with, I don't know where they're getting them or how they're checking things, but I've done a lot of them. It ain't like I've just pissed around and done 2 or 3 max. I've done a lot over the last 6.5 years. It just is what it is, and that's trademark J&S Chainsaw LLC. So I'll get a kick out of that. But I'm starting to hear other people on other channels pick that up, and I kind of know where they got it, but it's kind of funny. But anyway, enough about going on about them transfers. 9 out of 10 builders are going to look at it and say the whole cylinder is just a piss poor design. We got a floating ring set up. There's no cutting the bridge out of the exhaust port. Ask me how I know. First one of these I done, that's the first thing I done, was whack that bridge out. Saw sounded amazing sitting there on the bench. As soon as I put a bar and chain on it and got it under any load at all, it hung the ring and just destroyed the piston cylinder. She was just kind of garbage after that, but anyway, this will be part 1 to this, I guess. I'll dig around, boy, see if I've got a piston. It'll be a whole assembly, piston, crank rod, and all. Anytime I've tried to press one of these off, if you've got a new piston to go on, you're alright, but you don't feel like the bearings on that connecting rod are too healthy anyway, and these are removable. Yeah, that thing kind of feels like shit. It's probably a good thing he sent it down here. It probably would have let go a couple more times out or something. I know that would have ended up letting go anyway, but anyway, we'll get some parts rounded up here. I've got a bucket here. I've got all this in. I think we're going to paint this. I'm going to talk to him about it first, but we just can't send a saw back out of the shop looking with that much paint missing. I swear, I think he told me a while back he'd like to have a 1010 done in all black. Could have been someone else, but we'll find out and see what he says. But again, this one belongs to Josh over at JK Saw Shop. We just kind of traded around a little work. I had an old 50 sitting here. I don't even know when I would have got to it. It would have been a long time down the road. He really enjoys building them things, and let's just face it, not everybody wants to fool with these damn McCullochs. I'll just tell you, I even have to be in a mood to fool with one anyway myself. But after you've done a few dozen of them, they really ain't that bad. You kind of know the ins and outs and what to look for and what might break and what you have to watch out for. You know, again, is what it is. But anyway, I quit running my mouth. There'll be a couple more parts to this. The next one may be some tips and tricks. I'm kind of trying to decide whether or not we want to cut a little out of the pockets. Really ain't too thrilled about sitting doing that by hand. We can cut the base in the lathe, but it just all depends on where squish is going to be on it and where the exhaust roof's falling at when I get things settled in and go to checking all that crap. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and y'all have a great week.